Well, so if you're in the market for a compact sedan, then you really are spoiled for choice. If you want a car which looks stylish, then the Tata Tigor is your choice. If you want a car which offers you loads of rear seat comfort, then the Honda Amaze as well as the Hyundai Accent are the cars that you should look for. And if you call yourself a keen driver, then the Ford Aspire as well as the VW Amio should tick your boxes. But there is one car which simply outsells all these cars combined together, and that car needs no introduction. That car is the Maruti Suzuki Dzire. But now Maruti wants to take the game further away from all its rivals with the introduction of the new Dzire for 2017. So how is this car better than the outgoing version, and has Maruti finally answered the negatives about the older car? We'll find out on the show today. Well, so one of the biggest negatives on the older Dzire was the fact that the boot was really very tiny. Now officially, the earlier car was about 315 litres, the new one is 376 litres, so that is quite a big jump from the earlier car. But more capacity isn't the only thing positive about this car. You also get a very nice and wide aperture, which means that if you have a big box load into this car, it should not be an issue at all. And overall, even though it is still not the class leading boot in this segment, it is a whole lot better than the outgoing car and definitely much more usable than some of its rivals. Well, the other big negative on the older Dzire was the fact that the rear seats were really very cramped for leg room, and Maruti Suzuki engineers have finally answered that criticism, and I have adjusted the front seats as always for my height and my driving position, and my height for reference is 5'10" or 178 centimeters for those of you who do not like my 5'10" references. And I have loads of knee room. Headroom is more than adequate for someone who is my height, and it should be decent enough for someone who is around 6 foot as well. And I have a lot of place below the front seats where I can stretch my feet. So overall, this is now at par with class leaders when it comes to rear seat comfort. Well, not only are the rear seats good in terms of knee room, but Maruti Suzuki engineers have also widened this car slightly. They have widened this car by about 40 mm. Now officially that should be roughly about that much, but what that extra bit of width has managed to do is carve out a lot of space for 3 occupants over here who can sit together now on those long highway trips. Yes, this car has finally become a good car for 3 people on those long highway journeys. But the biggest boon now inside the cabin at the rear is the fact that you get your own AC vents. Yes, the throw of air isn't very strong, but even then it should manage to keep you cool on a hot and summery day. And before I forget, you also get your own armrest at the back, which gets a couple of small beverage holders, and you also get large enough windows to see outside. So really, Maruti Suzuki has answered the biggest negative on this car: limited legroom at the back in a big way, and this car really is one of the best packages out there for anyone who enjoys to be chauffeur driven in all day long. Well, the first thing you will notice as soon as you step inside the front seats of the new Dzire is the fact that the steering wheel on this car now is a flat bottom one, and not only does it look sporty, it's also very nice and sporty to grip. It of course has this leather wrap around it, which really does offer you a very premium and a very sporty feel. What also adds to the sporty quotient inside the cabin is the fact that the center console is slightly tilted towards the driver's side, and that of course helps when you're driving and you have to use the infotainment system for the various maps as well as the sound as well as stereo on this car. In terms of perceived quality levels, the new Dzire is as good as the outgoing model, and you get soft plastics all across the cabin, including the top of the dashboard as well as the top of the door pad, and you also get very good seats in terms of comfort. These seats offer you very good support for the lower back, and the seat scob is both long as well as wide, and what that means is that if you are someone who is on the heavier side just like me, these seats should be comfortable even on the longest of long journeys. Well, just like the Baleno, the new Dzire gets a touchscreen infotainment system, and for the first time ever, Maruti is offering you both Android Auto as well as Apple Car. And what that means is that if you have someone who has an Android phone inside the car, you can of course use the USB over here and connect it with that phone, and the apps over here on the system will immediately mirror the apps on his phone, so you don't really have to fiddle around the cabin and search for your phone. You can operate those apps directly from here. Well, but of course, if you are someone like me who does not really like Android too much and thinks it's a little boring and slow, then you can always use your iPhone over here, and this system will also mirror the apps from your iPhone. So the first time Maruti Suzuki is offering you a system for both Apple as well as for Android, and offering a system which will mirror the apps from both the phones. Well, but the Desire's cabin also has a couple of negatives. And what are those negatives? Well, firstly, you will miss that cup holder below the AC vent over here on the passenger side. That is now missing on this car, and that was a very useful feature for long highway journeys, because you could keep your beverage over here. The occupant over here could of course keep his beverage, and that beverage would remain cool from the strong throw of air which would come out from the AC. The second negative is that the glove box now is really very tiny and is big enough just for the manual and maybe for a small GoPro camera like we have right now, but really apart from that it can't handle anything else. But thankfully the door bins are still large enough to house those 1 litre bottles from your home. At the moment I have a half a litre bottle, and you also get a lot of places to keep your odds and ends, like over here where I can keep my cell phone, wallet, and also there is place just ahead of the gear lever where I can keep that half a litre bottle or that small Diet Coke can in. So overall it is slightly behind the earlier car in terms of practicality because of the glove box as well as that little cup holder over there, but still good enough for those long highway trips. Well, but the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto aren't the only features which will impress you. What is most impressive is the fact that this car will also come with 2 airbags as well as ABS as standard even on the base version. Yes, Maruti Suzuki will offer you safety kit even on the base versions of this car, and that really goes to show you their commitment towards safer cars for India. And what that also means is that the Dzire is very good value for money. Well, as soon as you start driving off the Maruti Suzuki Dzire, you get a strong sense of deja vu, and that's because this car has the same engines as the outgoing car. You get the same 1.2 litre petrol and the same 1.3 litre diesel, but that's not a bad thing because those engines were pretty good all-rounders and were very good in terms of both refinement as well as overall fuel efficiency. Well, so overall the Ford Aspire and the VW Amio might be better in terms of keen handling, but for buyers in this segment, those things really aren't the priority. What buyers want in this segment is a car which offers you a hassle-free driving experience and a car which really is very easy to drive around town, and in that department the Dzire really does excel. And why is that? Well, because you get these nice and comfortable seats, you get this huge glass area, and visibility really is very good because the A-pillar here isn't very thick. You can easily look around it, and the clutch as well as the gearbox and steering wheel are really very light, which means that maneuvering this car in the city is really a very breezy affair. Well, not only is it a comfortable car to drive in the city, when you take it out on the highway, this car does offer you a very comfortable ride. Maruti Suzuki engineers have worked very hard on the suspension and have retuned it slightly, and this suspension does soak in the bumps very well even at faster highway speeds, and this car does offer you good stability as well when you are doing speeds of about 100 or 110 kph on the highway. This car does have a solid and reassuring ride, so Maruti engineers have worked hard on improving the suspension as well. Now this car, remember, is about 100 kilos lighter than the older car, which means that fuel efficiency has been improved quite a bit, and Maruti claims 28.4 for the diesel version, which makes it not only the most fuel efficient car in this segment but the most fuel efficient car in India at the moment on sale. And the petrol also is pretty decent in terms of efficiency. Maruti claims 22 kpl for the petrol motor. Now, if you were to discount these figures by say about 10 or 15% for real world figures, even then this car is pretty fuel efficient. Well, you can really cruise around in the Dzire all day long on the highway because the cabin is pretty well insulated from the engine noise as well as the tire and wind noises. And when you are doing speeds of say about 100 or 110 kph on the highway, the engine is spinning at a relatively low 21 or 2200 rpm, and refinement levels are pretty good. The noise from the engine is really a very distant hum, especially in the diesel car. The petrol really is the last word on refinement in this segment. If it is refinement and quietness that you're after, you should simply go ahead and buy the 1.2 litre K series petrol engine on the Dzire. And as I just said, it is a very refined engine. Even when you rev that engine hard, it remains largely quiet inside the cabin, making it a very peaceful and calm place to be in. Well, now even though the steering wheel is pretty light on the new Dzire, it does have decent feel and good feedback as well. So you don't really feel nervous when you take this car out on the highway. You do get decent feedback from it, and the car feels a lot more agile than the earlier Dzire did. It's not, as I just said, the most sharpest tool in the yard or the most sharpest car in its segment, but for someone who does go up the hills once a while and enjoys pushing his car into corners, you can have some fun in the new Dzire. And if you are someone who is just as lazy as I am, then the AMT version of the Dzire is really the car you should go for. Not only is it hassle-free to drive, it also comes with very good fuel efficiency figures, because Maruti Suzuki say that the automatic and the manual return exactly the same 28.4 kpl. Well, so in summary, the new Dzire comes across as a much better all-rounder than the earlier car, and this car is really hard to find a fault with. And what all that means is that the new Dzire takes off from exactly where the old one left, and that is right on top in its segment. It's bye for now, and hope to see you soon.